Althea Greaney. Welcome to the Simsbury View. 25 years ago, a radio personality called Simsbury Simsboring. I didn't live here at the time, so imagine my surprise when I moved here to discover that I had a lot of choices for outdoor recreation. I still don't think I visited every park in Simsbury. Then a friend called me while I was working on this show and said, "You have to talk with Phil about pickleball." So our guests today are Gerry Toner, the Recreation Director of Simsbury Culture, Parks and Recreation, and Phil Couchon, member of USAPA and responsible for bringing pickleball to Simsbury. Thank you, Gerry and Phil, for joining us today.
Good to be here.
Let's start with Gerry. Gerry, how long have you been the Recreation Director for Simsbury?
I've been here 32 years.
32 years? Wow, you know all the parks here then.
Well, I should. A lot of things have changed over that time, but it's been a great run. I actually go way back with Phil. Phil served on the golf committee at Simsbury Farms, and so one of my first experiences in meeting with the advisory groups was with Phil, and obviously in a different capacity, but he's been an active guy, for all these years, and now is picking up the new pursuit. So
wow,
it's been great to see.
Fantastic. So, what are some of your responsibilities as the recreation director here in Simsbury?
Well, we have a pretty varied operation. As you said, we have all the recreation programs and everything that entails. We also have the responsibility for the maintenance and development of all our parks and open space in town. Wow. Currently, we have about 440 acres of parks, a little over 2,200 acres of open space, and that's really widely varied, in their function. Mm-hmm. But our parks have really, have grown a lot. We also are responsible for the maintenance of the Board of Ed athletic fields. Okay. So within our park maintenance operation, we actively maintain 40 athletic fields that are used now. Really spring, summer, and fall, mm-hmm. pretty much just about year-round. So with that comes, a lot of challenges, but in the open space has become, more and more certainly of a responsibility. We've taken on the maintenance of the Farmington Valley Greenway. We maintain the Performing Arts Center, a number of other, new facilities, that come on board. We oversee the maintenance of. So it's really varied, and probably one of the, from my job, one of the attractive things. A lot of variety, a lot of diversity. So a lot of excitement.
A lot of excitement.
Yeah.
Now, I was out on the website and I just was looking through, and it said that there were 12 parks in Simsbury. So I know there's a park in Terrafil, there's one on West Mountains Road, there's the parks that, we all kind of know mm-hmm. about,
sure.
Pack Center and stuff. But there's different facilities in all of those parks,
yeah.
right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, really varied. I mean, I think all the way from, probably our focal point, or the focal point of the community, being the Simsbury Farms Recreation Complex. Right. Which is really, I say, the focal point and just a jewel, for this town. But there are also a lot of smaller parks, a lot of some neighborhood parks maybe that people aren't that aware of. We have, out in, Terrafil Park, which is a, really popular area, West Mountain Park. Another one, kind of a neighborhood park. We've done some improvements at those areas over the years, trying to, improve the playground areas and the picnic areas and just things for, people that, kind of the old neighborhood, park, right. Approach to things. And, again, many of them, and going back to the whole, change the reliance on, or the conversion into the athletic fields. I mean, Simsbury is a town that, has just had phenomenal growth, in its youth sports organizations and has maintained that. And actually, despite the declining enrollment, those numbers don't seem to be going down. And I think it's a testament to the job that they all do. So, just going back to, quite a wide variety, of parks. And then you get into the open space, we've got just wonderful trails in town, and as you were saying, probably in the time you've been here, you probably haven't seen all we have. I think if you started, between, our open space areas and McLean Game Refuge we were talking about earlier, the state parks, if you started, hiking, today, you'd be hard pressed to get, really to get them all. It's really so much, and there's they're just great areas, and so I think it's really one of the real assets, that the town has, just the variety and the diversity of the parks and the open space areas.
Oh, great. So how do people find out about events and the availability of pools and courts here in Simsbury?
Sure, we've probably transitioned like a lot of organizations. We used to do more by print, and now we're more online. Probably in the last 10 years, we've done more with our website, with the town's website. Mm-hmm. We now have a database of about 7,000 plus families, both resident and non-resident, that use our facilities, use our programs. So we're able to communicate, pretty well, by that means in terms of what we have available, whether it be facilities, whether it be camps, whether it be, pickleball, whatever. We have a pretty good, capability of getting our word out. Mm-hmm. We're just, I'm not that social media savvy, but some of the people in the department are. We've just gotten on Twitter as a means to try and update people on give them program updates, facility updates, things like that. Mm-hmm. We're early stages of it, but I think it's something that, things like that will continue to try and grow and, develop.
Okay, great. Do people ever ask you to bring in new sports to Simsbury? Well,
they do, and I think that's one of the things we, over the years we've relied on a lot is it trying to get, people, kind of in some respects like Phil, that'll pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got an idea, how can we work with you? And it's going all the way from people that may, run programs or camps for us, all the way to, people are, developing, clubs and things like that. In this case, we were able to, work with Phil on finding a facility. And it was really pretty easy, been pretty rewarding to see all the, the folks that have come out and enjoyed it. And so, yeah, I think we try to be accessible. And I think, I think people know where to, how to find us and how to get in touch with us. And I think we've developed some pretty good, relationships that way.
Okay, great. Well, now that we've kind of almost sort of introduced pickleball, Phil, I just couldn't believe when Barbara called me and said, hey, you've got to talk to Phil. He's got this pickleball going, and he's been waiting to talk to you about it. And so tell us a little bit about pickleball and how it got started and the history.
Well, pickleball got started somewhere back in late 50s to early 60s, up in the Seattle area, where this state senator was having a party out on his island off the coast of Seattle, and the kids were driving them nuts. They were bored, and they were running in and out of the house and all of this business. And so he went to his shed and dug out every piece of athletic equipment that he could find and threw it out on the grass and said, here, stay out of our hair, do what you want, and have fun. So about an hour later or so, they heard the kids were laughing and screaming, and the dog was barking, and they went out, and the kids had taken some of the equipment from a badminton set, and they had a wiffle ball, and they were hitting it, only they lowered the net so that it was just near the ground, and this is how pickleball got started. You can probably surmise now that the reason it's called pickleball was the dog's name was Pickle.
Okay.
And he was chasing the ball and bringing it back and yipping and all of this business. Well, anyway, it started very slow from there. They started making paddles out of wood, and they developed some rules, and they put an organization together. And pretty soon they were all up and down the West Coast, and but that was about it. And it took about 50 years for it to get out here to the East Coast. So last winter, my wife and I were playing pickleball down in Florida, and when we got up here, there was no place to play. One of the nearest places was Ridgefield, which is out, out on near the west side of the state. And you could play in Greenwich, and you could play in Darien, but then I found that there was a place in South Windsor. So my wife and I started going over to South Windsor and playing there. After that, we decided, well, maybe we better see if we can get something started in Simsbury, because there was nothing in the surrounding communities.
Right.
So I called Gerry, and he said, well, let me think about it for a couple of days. And he got back to me in about 3 days, and he said, you know, we ought to get together on this. And so we did, my wife and I, Gerry, John, and Kathy Marshall from the senior center. And boy, he came up with the idea of playing on the hockey rink. Or he said you could lay something out up in Terriffill. Well, we checked both places. Terriffill, those 2 tennis courts have a lot of cracks in them, and the ball would be going all over the place. So we decided it looks like the hockey rink. So we started figuring out how to get people to get there. And one of the ways was Kathy Marshall was going to put some stuff in the monthly newsletter. And we decided that we would, my wife wrote a couple of small paragraphs for some of the weekly newspapers around here. And lo and behold, we had our first day, and there were 5 people showed up. Okay, it wasn't a disaster. 5 people is better than no people.
Exactly.
So we started playing with them, and 2 of them called the following day and said, we don't think pickleball is for us, so we're shrinking already, and we haven't been in existence 3 days. Okay. So the next day, or the next time that we played, we had a couple more, and a couple more, and pretty soon the word started spreading, and you know, they started showing up until here 8 weeks later, we have a nucleus of about 36 people.
Fantastic.
Who are coming kind of regularly to play.
Very good. And you play Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays?
We play Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoon from 3:30 to 5 o'clock, and the time just flies. I'm going to take these 3 people who showed up today for their very first time. And we have Sandy and Tom and Peter. And I'm Phil. And I'm going to play with Sandy. But first I'm going to lay out a few ground rules so that we can at least do something with this thing. I'm going to explain to you what is known as the double bounce rule. And the double bounce rule means that the server serves the ball diagonally, and it has to bounce once. And then it is returned by the receiving team, and it must bounce once over there before you can hit a volley. Now, a volley is any shot that you hit in the air before it touches the ground. Okay? If it touches the ground first, that's a ground stroke. And you can do those from anywhere. But volleys, you can only do after it bounces twice in the serve.
You know all the rules.
Yes, we know the rules. We
All right.
keep brushing up on the rules.
Okay, and you and Phil were the ones that were responsible for bringing this to Simsbury.
Yes, we met with Gerry Toner and the lady from the senior center. And Gerry gave us this nice building, and they bought us some nets and paddles, and it's taken off.
How do you give the score? 5-3-1. It's 3 numbers. The first number is the serving team. The second number is the receiving team. And the third number is either a 1 or a 2, depending upon which side you begin serving from.
Nice game.
Okay, good game.
I've never played before. It's my first time. I didn't know what to expect. Okay. And I'm a little rusty, so
Well, you played tennis before this?
No, I never played tennis either. I played ping pong. That's about it.
The only time that you can get a point is if you are on the serving team. The receiving team never gets a point.
So how often do you play, Phil? We kind of covered that before, but you play...
Well, we play 3 times a week.
Yep.
And we've got 2 courts now. We started with 1 court, and we laid it out, and we got people coming, and before we know it, we had like 14 people showing up, and using only 4 at a time. That means 10 people are sitting there waiting, and it's nice. They socialize, and they're wonderful people. They really are nice people. And so we decided to put in a 2nd court, and with that we've got relief now. And you know, if a day comes when we get a lot of people, then we cut it down from an 11-point game down to a 7-point game.
Okay.
And so we rotate people in and out a lot faster.
Okay.
They don't sit there because they came to play pickleball.
Right.
Okay.
So pickleball, I guess, from what I saw, is played 2 people on a side, and that's the standard. Okay. And so you can play 8 people at a time.
We can play 8 at a time.
Fantastic.
And a 7-point game will run you, maybe between 12 and 18 minutes to play it.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the way they're running in and out, you don't sit there for 18 minutes because 1 court empties out, 4 people go in, and then these 4 people come off and they get in line and, you know,
Right.
work their way around.
Rotate.
Yeah.
Very nice. Are there any age restrictions for playing pickleball?
You got to be alive.
Okay.
We don't have any age restrictions. Mostly we've been getting senior citizens, 55 and above,
Okay.
retired people. We had one young lady 2 weeks ago who came and thought she'd like to try it, and found that it was fun, but it wasn't quite for her, and she was 92.
Okay.
Okay, and I was kind of glad that it wasn't for her because, you know, I didn't want her breaking a hip or
Right.
getting injured. I don't want anybody
Getting
getting
hurt.
injured, but
Right.
especially at that age.
Right.
But she was a marvelous woman.
Very nice. Yeah, I noticed when we were taping that there were a lot of younger people watching from the pool area and from different
Yeah.
places. So
Yeah.
it's entertaining. If you know want to just kind of watch it for a while, it's fine. If you want to participate,
Yeah.
sounds
Well,
good.
lately we've had people parking between the end of the rink and the golf parking lot, and there's a little knoll there, and they sit there and they watch us, and we invite them in, and my wife will go out and get them and say, come on in and try it, and this sort of thing, you know, and she's very avid about this thing.
Enjoys it. Now, there are official rules for playing pickleball.
There are official rules. There's about a 34-page booklet of all the rules. And we have, I brought for show and tell here, some paddles so that you can get an idea of what we're using. This is one of the cheaper models that you can buy for in the neighborhood of $20 to $25. And then we have another brand that goes up a little higher. This is a graphite sandwich type thing, and they go for close to $70. And the balls are all kinds of colors. We've got black, and we've got white, we've got green, and we've got orange. And you'll notice the orange one has bigger holes than the green one.
Yeah.
Well, this one is for indoors, and this one is for outdoors.
Oh, okay.
So they're getting specialized. Now, if you bounce it, it makes a whack, And now they're working on getting, knocking the sound down, making these so that you don't hear that pop, pop, pop.
Oh, okay.
So it's advancing. It's
Yep.
advancing.
Well, and the nice thing about this too is like if you've ever played tennis, something smaller like that, it's not going to put so much torque on your elbow, so
Yeah.
you won't get that tennis elbow.
Yeah. There's no running like you do in tennis. You might take 1 or 2 steps one way or the other, but most of the time it's just a little step to the right or a little step to the left, because the court is only 20 feet wide and 44 feet long. And so, there's not a lot of room to run around in it. So it's good for senior citizens.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Great exercise.
Right. Or for somebody that's recovering from an injury or something. That you just need a little bit of exercise, just a little social activity, and just do that. So, sounds great. All right. So if people are interested, can they contact you? Or should they? Or actually, there's a USAPA pickleball site, right?
If they want to see how this game is played, they can get on the internet, USAPA.org.
Okay.
Okay? And there are films in there that last from a minute to 50 minutes.
Okay.
And they can see how it's played, who plays it, and how much fun it is.
Okay. Fantastic. Great. Okay, so it sounds like a great way to work the body and the mind.
Yes.
It's a little complicated, that scoring system, I tell you.
Yeah, the scoring system takes a little getting used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to Gerry. Now we have several state parks here that occupy space and share space with Simsbury.
Yeah.
Does our Simsbury Parks and Rec people interact with those?
We do a little bit, and actually in some cases those parks are contiguous, to ours, so that, going back to the whole, the hiking and some of the opportunity to get on these trails, they actually do connect, and which is fortunate. But no, we do, I communicate with, with my counterparts at the state level, periodically. Oftentimes people will be called, they'll call and they'll be looking for something in a park, that they want to have an event. And sometimes, we will steer them, to the state. In many cases, I think the state would probably steer them, to us. So we try and work, work that way. But yeah, I mean, just within Simsbury, we got some, really wonderful resources, with the state parks. So.
Right. Now, is Great Pond a state park, or is that a Simsbury park?
That's a state park.
That's a state.
Yes.
So Great Pond,
yeah.
Stratton Brook,
right.
Penwood,
yeah.
and Talcott Mountain.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Onion Mountain, that's
a town park.
That's a town park.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really pretty too.
Yeah.
How does McLean Game Refuge fit into the whole picture here?
Well, again, they're separately run, separately, by the McLean Foundation. But again, at the same time, they've got some, some of our, the town open space areas are contiguous to McLean. So again, really the opportunity to utilize both. And then I think you factor in also the Simsbury Land Trust has some some properties that are contiguous to the town and to McLean. So when you look out like up on the West Simsbury area between Onion Mountain Park and the trails along the ridge and McLean, you can pretty much go for quite a ways between those those three properties.
And actually cross through different jurisdictions, I guess you could call it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And the Greenway project, is that part of your jurisdiction, or is that separate also?
Well, we're involved in the maintenance of the Greenway, but going back, really almost 40 years, there was a bike trail subcommittee in town that actually was a subcommittee of the Park and Rec Commission. And they were actually one of the first in the state and probably in the nation to be involved in the whole rail trail conversion. Okay. So a couple of our paths, from the parcel from West, or the trail from West Mountain to Town Forest, the going through Stratton Brook Park, are all former rail lines that this group was very actively involved in. So they really led the way, 40 years ago in this whole initiative, and now you see where it's grown into, and there's a whole nother group that's been actively involved and taken charge, and it's just been a great addition to the town. It really has.
Great, thank you. Do you have any advice for Simsbury residents about their responsibilities and rights in using any of these parks?
Well, one, enjoy them.
Okay.
Enjoy them. I think, we ask that people, kind of respect the rights of others, but, and by all means come out and find out about them and find out maybe there's areas, that you never knew were out there. And I think you could set up some time and, for quite a few days, weeks, and months, and find a different area in town to enjoy. And the only thing we would say is one of the real, on the negative side, one of the real problems we have is the misuse of open space. Whether it be illegal dumping, whether it be vandalism, and that's something that unfortunately diverts our resources.
Right.
We only have so many staff that are maintaining all those parks and open space we talked about. So when we have to get into remediating or addressing those situations, it takes away from things that we would be much better suited and would rather be focusing our attention on. And there's a cost to the taxpayer with that too, that I don't know that everyone knows. So we ask people just to really you've got a great resource here in town with all the open space we have, and be respectful of it and enjoy it.
Very nice. Okay. Well, believe it or not, that's 28 minutes.
Really fast.
Fast.
So I want to thank my guests, Gerry Toner and Phil Couchon, for joining us today, providing us with great information about recreational opportunities in Simsbury. And to sum it all up, in Simsbury parks you can hike, bike, swim in pools and ponds, ice skate, cross-country ski, snowshoe, play on playground equipment for our younger residents. Play baseball, softball, basketball, football, soccer, lacrosse, rugby, tennis, paddleball, and now pickleball. There are events planned for every season and every interest. Visit simsburyrec.com and register to receive email notifications of interest to you and your family. For more information about pickleball, you can go see Phil at Simsbury Farms Hockey Rink Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 3:30 p.m. If you go later than that, he'll be a little bit busy, but he'll still work with you. Today's program is possible because of our volunteer camera operators, Jim Dempsey and Barbara Lee, directed by SCTV station manager Karen Hanville, and the editing and program processing skills of operations assistant Kristen Benedict. Donations to SCTV are needed to replace aging equipment. With your financial support and volunteer help, we can all keep informed about all that Simsbury has to offer. I'm Althea Greaney. Thank you for watching the Simsbury View.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.